Hey guys, my name is Vanessa and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 8th, 2017. This is Coppola. He is 11 years old and I've had him for 10 years. I rescued him from a dog hoarder and I'm going to tell you a little story about Coppola today. He is going to go to sleep though. He is tired. I just woke him up for that. I'm sorry, Coppola. Okay, selfishness, self-centeredness. I know. So, I was walking Coppola the other day, and I was at the park, and we were walking, and I watch him very vigilantly because he's a little dog, and I don't want some like child to like come up out of nowhere, and Coppola gets freaked out. He's never bitten anybody before, and he's missing a lot of his teeth now, but it's just something. He's my dog. I want to make sure he's okay. And so we were walking, and out of nowhere, this gigantic dog, whose owner was obviously checked out and not paying attention, like lunges at Coppola, and my heart was like, like I was like everything was very slow motion, and this dog is again ginormous, maybe like 150 pounds, and I look at Coppola. Coppola looks at me. I look at the dog. The dog is like lunging. Literally, his leash ended like just right before he can get to Coppola. And I grabbed the leash and like tried to like pull him back. But at that time, the owner finally snapped back to reality and was like, "Oh, my dog's gonna eat this little dog." And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" And she like pulled her dog back. And I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna make a big deal about this. Let's just keep walking." So we keep walking, and not even 5 steps later, this other ginormous dog, not as big as the first one, but still pretty big, comes at Coppola, and I think this one just wanted to play, but it after that whole thing just happened, it like freaked me out. And so this dog is like comes at Coppola, and Coppola looks at me, and I look at Coppola, and then Coppola just like stares at this dog, and just kind of is like whatever. And then that owner freaks out and is like, "Oh my gosh!" and like pulls her dog back, and so I'm like, "Okay, that's enough," and I pick up Coppola and I walk him back, to the car, and as I was driving, I was like thinking about how he almost got eaten by two dogs. Maybe not. I don't know. And I was driving, and I was looking at him because he's like not fazed by any of it, right? And I'm like, he probably doesn't know like how big those dogs are. Like in his mind, he is probably the same size as those dogs. Like it has probably never occurred to him as a Chihuahua that maybe he would get eaten. Maybe another dog has the capability to tear him apart. And, that's fine for a dog to live in that delusion. That's nice. But then I was thinking about, alcoholism and addiction, and how in my alcoholism and addiction, in my spiritual malady, like I had no idea the size of the beast that I was up against. And I had this like pride and this like self assurance that I could dominate and conquer anything. And that is just such a dangerous and naive place to be if you are a real alcoholic or addict. And I got to thinking about that because this is such, in the past month and a half, I've been getting a lot of emails and messages, and I love that. I love being able to communicate with people and like talk to people and just like be encouraging that like I promise you really will get through this. First of all, you're not alone, because I have like a dozen other messages that I'm also replying to of people that are in the same situation. They usually just got their first DUI or their arrest related to alcohol or drugs. And first of all, you're not alone. And second of all, anybody that talks to me hasn't killed anybody. But I always remind people that like this was your shot. Like it was like Coppola with the first dog. Okay, like that was lucky. That dog did seem aggressive. Didn't attack him. The second dog, like, okay, maybe that one wasn't aggressive, but I don't know what the next one's gonna be. I can't like predict that. So the best situation is just to be removed from that, right? And so, like, I feel like it's a duty to say that even if it's your first one, especially if it's your second one, like the next time you might not get that lucky. And it's not your life, it might be somebody else's. And it's really important to size up the size of the beast that you're up against if you are questioning your relationship with alcohol or other drugs, um, and realize that you do need help. Now, AA is the only thing that's worked for me. I've tried medication, therapy, hospitalizations. I've tried, spiritual things. I've tried yoga. I've tried eating really healthy. I've tried certain diets. I've tried hormone stuff. None of that stuff like really helps. Okay, I needed to get to the core of the spiritual essence of what was jacked up within me. And by the way, I was in my alcoholism for a decade of my life. So that means that during those 10 years, my coping mechanism was unhealthy, because it wasn't just the alcohol, it was all the behaviors around that. It was the fears that were motivating me to make very short-sighted decisions just to get through that day or that week or whatever, because I was in a survival mode all of the time, because I didn't have the ability to deal with life on life's terms. And it's important to realize that, like, looking back on it now, I can see that I was doing that. I was just in survival mode. I was making the next best decision that I thought I had to make just to get through that situation. I was not looking at the long-term effects of how that was going to affect me down the road. I wasn't looking into who else this was affecting around me. I know I just needed to get myself through the situation. And that was a really harmful way to think. And it was because of all of the fear that I was in, both real and imagined, by the way, in my relationships with myself and with other people, and with God, with employees, with employers. I just had all this fear that stood between me and the external stuff. And I just felt like if I could fix all the external stuff, that I would feel better inside. And that was a grand delusion that I was in. It wasn't reality. That's not how things work. I had to learn to be okay, regardless of what was going on outside of me. And things that I could and could not control, I needed to be okay. And, when I'm getting these messages from people that just got, their first, second, third, fourth DUI, I have to tell them, and if you've messaged me, you can attest to this. And I say, like, you're lucky, one, that like nobody got killed. But two, you really need to start evaluating your relationship with alcohol and figuring out if this is the best coping mechanism for you, or are you just going to take this as like you're speeding along on this awful path, and this is like a speed bump, and you're going to slow down and you're going to get scared for like 5 minutes, and then you're going to say, I'm just going to keep going. Like, that is not healthy behavior. That is not good. Not just in like good or bad, but like that will get you nowhere. You're going to get to at the end of the road, if you make it alive, and it's going to be a dead end. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be run out of gas, and you're going to be really upset that this is the road that you decided to follow. Whereas you can, if this is your first DUI, maybe this is your first speed bump. For me, it took 3. And finally, I was like, this probably isn't the road I want to go down. I probably need to turn my ass around and go find some other way to go. And you know what? I need to ask for directions too, because I don't know how to get anywhere besides down this road. And it's really important, again, AA is the only thing that's worked for me, and it requires an awful amount of humility and despair to get to the point where you're willing to consider other people's advice or opinions or suggestions. But that's where I was at. And nobody gets to my videos before they realize they might have a problem, right? Like, they always get here afterwards. And I hope that some of this like sinks in now before you get another DUI or before something else happens that's even worse. And I do think that for some reason I'm getting a lot more of these messages now because it's summertime, and I think that people are out and they're drinking, and they're not thinking about it. If they've already had their first DUI, then maybe you're just like, whatever, I survived that. It's not going to happen to me again because I'm a smart person, and you may very well be. But if you don't have any other coping mechanisms in place, you're going to continue doing the same thing over and over again. And I just can't encourage you enough to just break out of those behaviors and try something new. The most discouraging emails that I get are the ones that are like, no, it's okay. I have an attorney. He's going to figure it out for me. Like, I'm paying him a lot of money. Like, I'm not going to get any jail time, and I'm good. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I hope that works out for you. I really do, because that's awesome. If you're not an alcoholic and you just made a bad decision one night and, whatever. But if this is not your first time and you're continuing to repeat this pattern, it's really unhealthy, and you're putting people at an awful lot of risk and being harmed and killed. But in addition to that, like, you're not owning up to the consequences that you have coming up to you, and you need to. It's essential for growth, and I wasn't able to do that for a long time because I thought I didn't deserve any punishment ever. I thought I was always right. I thought people were always after me. I thought that, I lived in a lot of fear, and like I said, fear is a great delusion, and it'll inspire you to do really stupid things just to survive. And that's not what we were created for. We were not created to just be in survival mode. We were created to be in community and purpose and be of service to one another and be loved and be loving. And I just feel like it's my duty to say that and to remind anybody watching my videos that to take this to heart. If you got a DUI, let that be your last time. You don't ever have to do that again. And you're not alone, by the way. I get tons of these video or messages that are like, I feel so alone, and like, I get it. I definitely get that. It's an awful feeling of like isolation, that you feel like a bad person. And I just can't encourage you enough that you're not a bad person, but you need to take this opportunity to make this something good, and to something that will grow you as a person and not like destroy you. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you, Coppola, for being on today. He's totally passed out of sleep by now. He's old. Did I mention that? And anyway, thank you again for watching these videos and for being patient with me. I'm really, I swear, going to try to be more diligent in my updating of this. So last thing, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my name there is Van Set Free, the same thing as this channel. And you can also follow me on Facebook too. I have a page. And on my blog, of course, vansetfree.com. You can also email me, vansetfree@gmail.com. I do reply to everybody because I think